While battling for my life in the hospital, my partner was on a quest to reconnect with his first love. That very night, he ended our relationship, urging me to move on without him. Strangely enough, once I overcame the peril, I genuinely forgot about him. Later, as I cuddled with his brother Ethan, being playful and affectionate, my ex went mad, pleading for me to return. "Mia, I was mistaken," he confessed, his eyes searching mine. "Do we even know each other?" I pondered. Ethan had two close friends, Adrian and Luca, both strikingly handsome. Adrian, in particular, with his impressive family background and charismatic demeanor, always drew attention wherever he went. He was like a gentle breeze, charming everyone around him, a quintessential ladies' man. However, being around Adrian always made me uneasy. His flirtatious gaze, even when simply looking at our stuffed animals at home, was unsettling. In contrast, Luca was more reserved and quiet, yet possessed an enigmatic allure. From a young age, I would follow my brothers around, calling them brother. As I matured, my focus shifted solely to Luca, distancing myself from my biological brother. Luca was a man of few words, so every encounter had me doing most of the talking. He listened intently, occasionally smiling, a stark contrast to Adrian, who frequently teased me. When we both secured places at the same university, I mustered the courage to confess my feelings to Luca. He stared at me blankly for a moment, and just as I braced for rejection, he unexpectedly took my hand and said, "All right." Whether it was a misunderstanding or something else, I noticed him glancing behind me. Turning around, I saw someone swiftly walking away. Our 6-month relationship was marked by scarce private moments. I was fervent and intense, while Luca remained detached. On my birthday that year, he accompanied me to a film for the first time. It was a romantic movie, and as I reached out to hold his hand in the dark theater, his phone rang. Luca stepped out to answer it and never returned, sending a message about an urgent matter at the university and asking me to head back to the dorm early. Clutching my phone, I watched the movie alone, but recently my vision had been troubling me. No matter how I wiped my eyes, clarity eluded me. As the film concluded, I bumped into Adrian, who was surrounded by a crowd exiting the theater. Although Adrian and I hailed from the same city, we attended different schools, unlike my brother, who was from another town entirely. Upon seeing me, Adrian quickly bid farewell to the group and took me aside. "Why are your eyes so red? Are they irritated? Maybe some delicious food will help you feel better?" He led me to a nostalgic-themed restaurant, ordered all my favorite dishes, and even a birthday cake. He claimed it was on behalf of my brother, who was far away, and had asked him to take care of me. However, I knew it wasn't true because my brother had already transferred money to me that morning, promising to make it up to me when I returned home. In reality, Adrian never forgot my birthday and always found excuses to gift me presents. Yet, I noticed he gave gifts to others too, with more elaborate packaging than those he gave me. I couldn't bring myself to engage with such a playboy. That evening, Adrian drove me back to campus. Just before I entered the gates, he called out, "Mia, no matter what happens, I'll always be here for you." I didn't grasp his meaning until Luca informed me a week later that our relationship had ended, and I realized Adrian had known all along. Luca explained that despite his efforts, we weren't compatible. I resisted accepting this, tugging at his sleeve and asking if he'd reconsider. Luca admitted he never truly liked me. My persistence had merely annoyed him. He said I had been like a shadow throughout his entire youth, haunting him. Now he wanted to move on, pursue other relationships, and live his life without me. I couldn't believe someone as gentle as him could speak so harshly. I wept, called him names, and blamed him for giving me false hope, even though he never genuinely cared for me. Luca endured my outbursts with a slight apology before asking me to forget him. Unbeknownst to us, that night as I wept my way back to campus, a speeding vehicle hurtled towards me at the crosswalk. I couldn't evade it in time, feeling my body tossed violently before crashing onto the ground. When I regained consciousness a month later, aside from my parents and brother, Adrian was by my side. A prominent scar marked my forehead, and gaps in my memory plagued me. I often joked that perhaps my memories had escaped with the injury. Adrian merely chuckled, suggesting it might be a blessing as my mind wasn't that expansive, leaving room for him. I dismissed his teasing, but Adrian was as attentive as my brother in caring for me. Recently, nightmares plagued me again. Visions of walking down a dark path with someone abandoning me despite my pleas. These dreams took a toll, leading my brother to take me to his high school reunion to lift my spirits. However, midway through the event, an unexpected guest arrived. A strikingly handsome man. Though attractive, his presence was unwelcome as both my brother and Adrian's demeanors shifted the moment he entered. He had been fixated on me all evening, causing my heart to race with anxiety. Even the shrimp Adrian offered me seemed to distract him, leading me to accidentally bite his finger. Unable to endure his stare, I excused myself to the restroom. Upon returning, I was horrified to witness my brother and the newcomer arguing in the hallway. I hurried to intervene, with Adrian close behind. My brother shielded me, instructing Adrian, "Take her away, Adrian!" "Mia, I need to talk to you about that person," Adrian began, but before he could continue, my brother struck the man and demanded, "Is that clear?" The man protested, "Ethan, this is between Mia and me. Why can't I see her?" Confused, I glanced at Adrian, whose usually jovial expression had turned serious, his fists clenched in anger. Had I not intervened, the altercation could have escalated further. "Mia, can we talk privately?" Adrian requested. My brother wanted to fight, but I restrained him. I approached the man asking, "Do you know me?" He seemed momentarily perplexed, but before he could respond, Adrian pulled me away. I never saw that man again after that day. Eventually, I resumed my studies, preparing to start my freshman year anew. With my brother needing to concentrate on the family business, Adrian was solely responsible for my care. Despite my protests that I could manage, Adrian insisted on looking after me. One evening, as he walked me to the dormitory, he suddenly grabbed my wrist. Startled, I met his gaze. After a brief pause, he asked, "Mia, will you be my girlfriend?" My heart skipped a beat. We had spent so much time together that pretending not to feel anything would be dishonest. Before I could respond, Adrian laughed, adding, "Just kidding, don't feel pressured." I hesitated. Adrian seemed surprised, likely expecting a different reaction. A gentle breeze brushed my face, and I used the moment to adjust my hair, withdrawing my hand from his. Adrian looked at me seriously, a look I had never seen before. I was scheduled for another surgery later that year, and the doctor mentioned my memory would improve with full recovery. I wanted to express that once healed, I wished to stand by his side as an ordinary person, yet I noticed a hint of pain on Adrian's face despite his smile and his words, "All right, Mia, go back and rest. Don't overthink it." Back in the dorm, Adrian's words echoed in my mind, his face lingering in my thoughts. I tried to shake it off, but he remained present. A friend request appeared on my phone from someone named Luca. The name rang a bell from conversations between my brother and Adrian. I accepted, and Luca quickly messaged, "Mia, I'm downstairs at your dorm. I didn't know how to reach out." He asked for a chance to explain our past, mentioning memories I couldn't fully recall. Summoning my courage, I went downstairs to meet him. He handed me a box, saying, "Your favorite cake." Instead of taking it, I looked at him and replied, "Just tell me what you need to say." Seeing the cake, Luca offered a bitter smile and explained he had been searching for me after returning to school, finally finding a way to contact me. He knew about my accident and leaving school, but was unaware of my memory loss. Luca also apologized for the harsh words during our breakup. His mention of a breakup confused me, as I couldn't remember us ever being together. Luca looked bewildered, asking, "Mia, what's wrong? Are you still upset with me?" I avoided his gaze, knowing he was a close friend of my brother and Adrian. I had found a photo of the three of us in a drawer from when I was 13 last year. The accident had left me with amnesia, and the cake slipped from Luca's hands as a gust of wind revealed the scar on my forehead. Luca was taken aback, his trembling hand reaching out to touch the mark, asking if it hurt. Instinctively, I stepped back, causing him to freeze, his eyes filled with sorrow. Unable to bear his gaze, a headache and heartache surged within me. Ignoring Luca, I turned and fled back to the dorm. Since that day, Luca visited the dorm daily, but I never interacted with him. On a Friday night, Adrian took me out for dinner as usual. At the table, he focused on peeling shrimp and deboning fish for me. His black shirt was rolled up to his forearms, 2 buttons undone at the collar, highlighting his prominent Adam's apple and smooth neck. I swallowed nervously. Adrian looked up, offered me a shrimp, and raised his eyebrows teasingly. Do I look good? I quickly averted my gaze. How could he not? I knew he received countless love letters daily at school, yet he always smiled and told them he already had someone special, leaving no room for others. Feeling guilty, I dared not lift my head, but I could imagine his smug expression. Damn it, he's always been aware of his handsomeness since childhood. Mia, I have to go on a business trip tomorrow, he said, removing his greasy gloves and gently squeezing my chin with his long fingers. What? Can't stand me leaving? If you kiss me, I won't go. How about it? Before I could react, I rolled my eyes and continued eating with my head down. Adrian would be away for 3 days, and for the first time, I felt an emptiness in my heart. I didn't return home over the weekend, staying in the dorm with my roommates. One joked about why my handsome boyfriend hadn't shown up, referring to Adrian. I laughed, saying he was busy on a business trip. Even I realized I subconsciously considered Adrian my boyfriend. Reflecting on when he first asked me to be his girlfriend, perhaps I was willing, but something held me back emotionally. At night, I messaged Adrian about my day's events, but even after falling asleep, I received no reply. Restless, I dreamt of that same person again. Startled awake, I instinctively wanted to talk to Adrian. Opening our chat, I saw his reply at 2 a.m. Who's such a good talker? I'll treat them to dinner when I get back. His message finally calmed me, but I couldn't drift back to sleep. I confessed I had another nightmare and was sweating profusely. Adrian immediately responded, I'm here. Don't be afraid. How about I tell you a story over a voice call? I put on my earphones, and Adrian's deep voice filled my ears. Through the connection, I could almost feel his breath on my earlobes. Clenching the bedsheets tightly, I unknowingly fell asleep. I was exhausted, but Adrian was still on the line when I woke up in the morning. Perhaps my movements had disturbed him, as his voice came through the earphones. Awake? I was surprised. Didn't you sleep all night? No, I woke up early, he replied. Checking the time, it was 6:30. Mia, I'll be back tonight. Let's have dinner together. Huh? Weren't you supposed to be away for 3 days? I asked. My work's finished, so I can return early, Adrian answered. Just then, someone seemed to approach. Adrian said, Adrian, are you talking to your little girlfriend again? Adrian simply replied, Yes, she's been upset about me being away. Did he just acknowledge it implicitly? I was stunned. Suddenly, Adrian whispered, Mia, I miss you. Before I could respond, the call ended abruptly. Feeling lost in the dorm all day, I finally received a call from Adrian at 5 p.m. He mentioned that my brother would also join us and would be at the school gate in half an hour. I donned a rarely worn dress and applied some makeup. My roommate commented that I looked beautiful, but this transformation took it to another level. I felt nervous, unsure why, but sensed that the voice chat from last night had altered my relationship with Adrian. Mia, someone's looking for you downstairs, my roommate called out. My heart raced as I grabbed my phone and rushed downstairs. As the door was closing, my roommate joked, It's a handsome guy. Not thinking much of it, I hurried downstairs only to find Luca waiting. He wore sports attire, looking sunny and enthusiastic. My smile faltered, unsure how to react. However, Luca seemed oblivious to my changed expression. He smiled and said, Mia, let's have dinner together tonight. I took a step back, informing him I already had plans and couldn't join. Luca gently persisted, Just this once tonight, it's me. At that moment, a familiar voice called my name. I turned to see Adrian, looking tired yet still handsome. A wave of relief washed over me, and I ran to his side, using a tissue to wipe his sweat. Was there traffic on the way? Adrian nodded, then glanced at Luca behind me. If you want to eat, we can all go together. No solo dinners with Mia. Taking my hand, Adrian led me toward the school gate. I suddenly remembered a group photo with everyone's birthdays noted on the back. Today was Luca's birthday, explaining why both Adrian and my brother were present. The 3 of us reached the school gate, where my brother had arrived. Adrian and I sat in the back, while Luca took the front seat. I couldn't tell if the air conditioning was too strong, but I felt a chill, unsure whose touch was sending shivers down my spine. Glancing at the rearview mirror, our eyes met with Luca's. reminiscent of that reunion. He always seemed to be watching me. Feeling uncomfortable, I turned to look out the window. Suddenly, a warm sensation touched my knee. Startled, I turned to meet Adrian's captivating eyes. His hand rested on my knee, and though we'd known each other for years, Adrian had never crossed the line. Today felt different. My heart raced and my cheeks flushed as I slightly moved away, but Adrian leaned in closer, our bodies nearly touching, whispering softly in my ear, "Don't wear such short skirts next time." He then draped his jacket over my legs and continued in a low voice, "If you do, just so I can see." I gave him a sideways glance, and he smiled, looking irresistibly charming. He turned back to sit properly, but his hand remained on my knee, securely tucked under his jacket. The scene was filled with ambiguity. Nothing seemed out of place, yet an alluring and mysterious energy lingered, as if something extraordinary had just occurred beneath our attire. "Ethan, stop the car!" Luca's voice shattered the tension. My brother seemed to have anticipated something, pulling the car over to the roadside. Luca exited the vehicle and approached the back seat, saying, "Adrian, let's talk." I grabbed Adrian, signaling him not to leave, but he simply smiled and ruffled my hair, mentioning it was only a matter of time. After glancing at my brother, he got out of the car. "Adrian, wait for me!" I felt anxious and wanted to exit the car with him, but the door closed firmly at my brother's command. We locked eyes through the rearview mirror, his anxiety unmistakable. "Mia, do you want to know about your past with Luca?" Half an hour later, my brother accelerated the car, leaving me in shock. "Bro," Adrian and the others hadn't returned. My brother remained silent, showing no intention of stopping. "Ethan?" I grew increasingly anxious. My brother glanced at me before parking the car by the roadside. "Mia, in that moment, who were you thinking of? Who were you worried about?" Honestly, I was thinking of Adrian. He dominated my thoughts. I feared he wouldn't find me when he returned and that he'd get hurt in a conflict with Luca. But when my brother asked, my thoughts became muddled once more. He recounted my history with Luca, from the first time I met him, the years I followed him, our breakup, and the night of the accident. My brother clarified that the accident was caused by a drunk driver, not Luca. However, Luca had hurt my feelings, and my brother couldn't forgive him. Although there was an intention to bring Luca back from abroad to apologize once I was safe, my parents decided that everyone should face the consequences of their actions, and Luca couldn't have foreseen this outcome. Especially after discovering my memory loss, we chose not to inform Luca. Helping him during my most vulnerable time might have been a blessing in disguise. Finally, I understood why the same photograph was tucked away in both my brother's and Adrian's study drawers, cherished yet seemingly unwanted to be seen again. At night, lying in bed unable to sleep, I frequently checked my phone, but Adrian hadn't messaged. Overwhelmed with worry, I decided to call him. Before I could, Adrian's call came through saying he was waiting downstairs. Without hesitation, I rushed downstairs to find Adrian with a bruised lip and disheveled clothes. He didn't offer an explanation, simply handed me a bag, explaining that dinner plans had fallen through, so he bought me seafood rice, which I loved. Tears welled up inside me. Instead of taking the bag, I just stared at him. Finally, Adrian couldn't hold back any longer, set the bag aside, and urged me to eat and rest. He acted so casually that it seemed as though nothing had happened earlier. As Adrian turned to leave, I was momentarily lost for words. I stepped forward and embraced him tightly. "Luca is just a blank memory now. It's you I want. Don't you want me to?" Somehow, Adrian was moved by my words. I felt him shudder before he turned around and held me tightly. "Mia, I will always want you in my life." Tears streamed down my face, mingling with snot as I clung to Adrian, unable to let go. The presence of Luca had heightened my self-awareness. I held onto Adrian, crying as I explained the choice my brother had forced upon me. During that short car ride, all I could think about was him. Adrian held me firmly, remaining silent as I poured out my heart, expressing how much I cared for him and liked him. Yet, Adrian stayed quiet. Growing impatient, I wiped my face on his shirt and asked if he had changed his mind. Was there another beautiful girl tempting him? Adrian chuckled at my teasing before kissing my lips. He confessed that he had agreed to be my true boyfriend, even if it was just for the 2 months leading up to my surgery. A week later, I encountered Luca again. My brother and Adrian took me to the hospital for a checkup, and noticing Adrian's bruised lip from days past, I felt an urge to confront Luca. However, seeing Luca's left arm bandaged across his chest, I reconsidered. None of us paid much attention to Luca, but after his arm was examined, he silently followed us. I wasn't sure if this scenario had happened before, but it felt eerily familiar. Adrian held my hand, showing immense care. My brother rolled his eyes at me. Why not be his sister instead? Adrian kicked my brother, retorting, "I don't need a sister, I need a wife." My brother was about to respond, but I quickly placed myself in front of Adrian. Truly a handful, this brother raised by our parents. With our parents preoccupied with business, I mostly followed my brother around. But later, Adrian joined. And they mentioned Luca, though I couldn't recall him clearly. The checkup results were positive. The doctor praised my recovery, attributing it to the family's care. I leaned into Adrian's embrace. With my brother attending a distant school, Adrian spent most of his time with me. According to the doctor, advancing my surgery by a month would enhance my recovery, including restoring those blank memories. My mood had been off since leaving the hospital, but Adrian tried to uplift me in every way, yet I couldn't bring myself to smile. "Bro, I don't want the surgery." My brother Adrian and Luca were shocked by my declaration. Luca hadn't spoken, but his eyes reflected sorrow as he looked at me. I avoided his gaze and turned to my brother. "No, this was Adrian," I clarified, looking at him. "But I'm already fine now. Why surgery?" "Mia, I'll go along with anything but this," he replied. I was being stubborn, refusing the surgery. "Mia, can you listen to me?" Adrian never raised his voice, but this was the first time he showed regret as soon as the words left my mouth, quickly softening his tone to soothe me. "Mia, Before Adrian could finish, I buried my face in his chest. "Do you really want to let me go?" I sensed Adrian suppressing his emotions. He held me, and after a while he said, "I don't want to, but I can't bear to see you suffer." I froze, raising my head to look at him. He wiped my tears and admitted he knew everything. He was aware of my sleepless nights due to headaches, my silent crying, and how I clutched the blanket to avoid worrying the family. He knew about my nightmares and my attempts to remember those blank memories until my head felt like it would burst. I have a stubborn streak, often hiding my vulnerabilities, so even if Adrian knew, he wouldn't bring it up. He simply stayed in the small hall outside my room, keeping me company. I, shedding tears behind the door, relied on him, and he cared for me diligently. Listening to our conversation, my brother had already turned away to wipe his tears. Luca, with reddened eyes, reached out as if to touch my head, but I dodged and hid in Adrian's arms. I couldn't recall how I used to feel about Luca. I just knew that in Adrian's embrace, I felt the most at ease. Finally, after persuasion from Adrian, my brother, and Luca, I agreed to the surgery a month later. As I began to feel better, Adrian visited my home less frequently. My brother mentioned he had started focusing on the family business, and Adrian joked that I ate so much he had to work hard to support me. During the school break the next night, I packed my suitcase and moved directly into Adrian's house. Adrian opened the door, having just showered with a towel wrapped around his waist. "Hold on, let me wipe my nosebleed." Upon realizing I was moving in, Adrian was taken aback, swallowing a mouthful of toothpaste. "Mia, have you discussed this with your parents and Ethan?" I nodded. Adrian, now serious, made me nervous, so I quietly explained that my parents needed to be available during my surgery and were occupied with overseas business matters. My brother was also busy with work in the country, leaving me no one else to care for me except Adrian. Adrian sighed softly, helped me settle in, and changed all the sheets in the master bedroom to fresh ones. I watched him busily from the side, feeling happy inside. My man is truly handsome. "Okay, you should rest first. I'll go make a call to Ethan." After tidying up a few of his own clothes, Adrian was about to leave, but I stopped him. "Where are you going to sleep?" "In the guest room." "Why?" I thought he would understand my intentions when I moved in, but now it seemed I hadn't been clear enough. "Adrian, I am your girlfriend." "I know. Then why would you sleep in the guest room? Do you think I'm not attractive enough, or am I not appealing to you?" I stepped forward. Adrian stepped back. I took another step. He retreated again. Adrian! My pride was wounded, so I turned to leave. Adrian grabbed me. Mia, if you don't like me, just tell me. I won't bother you. Even though I couldn't remember Luca, according to my brother, I had pursued him back then. I clenched my fist tightly, fearful of thinking any further. Suddenly, I felt warmth on my back as Adrian hugged me. Mia, I'm a man. A normal man. I was too angry to comprehend his meaning. Suddenly, Adrian pulled me into his arms. I lost my balance and pressed my back against his chest. For the first time, I was so close to him. Feeling his warmth, my mind went blank. Did you feel it? It's because you're too attractive to me. That's why I dared not. His voice was deep, and as he spoke, he gently bit my earlobe with his lips, making me shiver. Mia, once you recover from the surgery, if you still feel the same, shall we get engaged? He continued to hold me tightly, moving his lips to the side of my neck, kissing deeply. I knew he didn't want to hurt me, but he was also afraid I might change my mind after regaining my memories. Once I understood his intentions, I didn't hesitate. Turning around, I responded, showing him how much I liked him. In the end, Adrian still slept in the guest room, but I could hear the sound of running water from the adjacent bathroom for a long time. Finally, the day of the surgery arrived. Since I had to be admitted to the hospital earlier, I stayed at Adrian's house for 10 days. At the hospital, my brother shot Adrian several stern looks, and I wasn't pleased, so I pulled Adrian behind me. He reluctantly explained he hadn't done anything wrong. My brother gave him a look as if trying to deceive a naive person. Ultimately, I had to step forward and clarify, which made my brother finally warm up to Adrian. On the day of the surgery, Luca appeared too, but he stayed at the back of the crowd, fearing I would get angry if I saw him. I glanced at him and smiled. He looked pleasantly surprised and mouthed, "Good luck," to me. My family accompanied me to the operating room doors, my parents' eyes swollen from crying. I smiled and comforted them, saying their daughter was blessed and would surely recover safely and healthily. I never expected to be the one undergoing surgery, lying on the hospital bed, comforting my family. I thought I was strong, but I was mistaken. The moment Adrian appeared in my sight, tears welled up in my eyes. Adrian smiled and kissed my forehead. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." From childhood until now, hearing these words had always brought me peace of mind. "Adrian, go get an engagement ring and propose to me when I'm out, okay?" Adrian was momentarily stunned before nodding. "Okay, when you come out, we'll go and register." But Adrian, who had always kept his word, broke his promise this time. The surgery went smoothly, and the doctor said I needed to stay in the hospital for another month for observation. However, Adrian didn't visit even once during that month. The doctors restricted my use of electronic devices, so I couldn't call him, and whenever I asked my brother, he simply said Adrian was busy but would come over soon. I knew him well, and couldn't understand what could keep him so occupied that he couldn't visit me even once during my month in the hospital. On the other hand, Luca visited me every day. Watching him be so careful made me uneasy. I remembered our past, but my heart still belonged to Adrian. I tried to explain this to him, but Luca insisted on taking care of me daily. He said he missed me too much, so let him look after me. I couldn't persuade him, so I allowed him to stay, especially since he always came with my brother, which wasn't awkward. The night before my discharge, I had a deep conversation with Luca. I told him I knew he had been with me initially to make his ex-girlfriend jealous, reminding me of that hurried figure leaving that night. I was too attached to him at that time, even though I knew how things would end. Luca seemed like he wanted to explain, but ended up just saying sorry. I shook my head, smiling, telling him that he simply didn't like me, and the ensuing accidents shouldn't be blamed on him. Perhaps I was too indifferent, but it was Luca who couldn't accept it. He said he'd rather I scolded him or hit him. At least that would prove he was still in my heart. However, even after regaining my memories and being calm towards him, he finally realized I had completely let go. The girl who had always clung to him since childhood eventually, as he wished, walked out of his life. But why did his heart ache so much? On the day of discharge, I could finally access my phone. I discovered that Adrian had been sending me long messages daily, not just chatting, but like diary entries. He detailed his day and how he missed me frequently. Counting them, it seemed he missed me once every hour. I couldn't help but ask my brother where he was. My brother sighed lightly, explaining there was a significant problem in his family. Adrian's uncle had hired a hitman who nearly killed Adrian's father, causing his grandfather to have a heart attack and be hospitalized. Adrian had to step up as the sole pillar of the family, managing the household while trying to save the company from financial losses. Initially, Adrian didn't want my brother to inform me of these events. He promised to explain everything once he sorted it out. Unable to listen to more, I simply asked my brother to handle some hospital procedures for me and planned to find Adrian alone. I rushed out, accidentally bumping into someone immediately. The person's chest felt warm. I hugged him tightly. Adrian had lost a lot of weight, with dark circles under his eyes, looking extremely weary. Thankfully, I reached him just in time. He gently touched my face and asked if I was upset with him. He explained he hadn't had time to be by my side due to an emergency. He apologized with a cautious tone, but my heart ached. How did he find time to come? Wasn't the family emergency keeping him busy? My brother arrived and said, "Actually, he visits you every day, but only at midnight when you're asleep. He doesn't want to disturb you." I looked at him, feeling wronged, and held onto Adrian tightly, unwilling to let go. Luca also approached, patting Adrian on the back, saying, "I've already sent the contract to your assistant, and the new product launch is in your hands." Adrian smiled and thanked him. Luca lightly punched him on the shoulder, adding, "Between brothers, there's no need for formalities." Later, I learned that Adrian's father and grandfather were both hospitalized, and the family company was on the brink of collapse under his uncle's control. Adrian was overwhelmed, and it was Luca and my brother who helped him navigate the crisis. I recalled when the three of them were young and ambitious, dreaming of achieving great things together. Now, that dream had partially come true. 3 years later, I awaited Adrian in a wedding dress, ready for him to marry me. The bridesmaids at the door didn't allow Adrian to enter, and I grew anxious. I directly told my best friend that if she didn't open the door soon, I wouldn't introduce my brother to her. My best friend immediately wanted to hand me over to Adrian. After many years, we had each found happiness, except for Luca, who remained single. At my daughter's first birthday party, I joked about having a friend who had her eyes on Luca, but he simply smiled and said he wasn't interested in romance at the moment. That night, Adrian kept me awake all night, and as dawn approached, I pleaded with him to stop. I couldn't understand what had gotten into him. He was unusually relentless. I touched his face with both hands and asked, "Who upset you like this?" Adrian gritted his teeth and there was a thud on the bedside table. "Why hasn't Luca found a girlfriend yet?" I pretended to be sad. "Honey, thinking about Luca at this time doesn't seem right, does it?" Adrian's eyes sparkled. "He's definitely still thinking about you." I was speechless. Adrian was incredible in every way, except for being overly jealous. Over the years, whether in business or brotherhood, they had maintained good relationships. But when it came to me, Adrian was like a protective guardian, growling at anyone who approached me. Reflecting on that, I leaned in to kiss him with a smile. "You already have a daughter with me. Aren't you afraid I'll run away?" Adrian's grip tightened. "Of course I am. No, you have to give me another one." Luca's epilogue. I lost someone dear, a girl who had only ever had eyes and a heart for me since childhood. I still remember the first time I saw her on a beautiful evening. She was sitting in the hallway reading, and Adrian introduced her as my sister. We were all young then, and she would sweetly call me Big Brother Luca. But I was distant and didn't know how to interact with girls, so I would just nod and walk away without saying anything. Adrian, on the other hand, seemed to enjoy teasing Mia, always hiding her books or pulling her ponytail. Every time he would bother her until she cried. I couldn't stand it, so I would shield Mia and ask Adrian, "Is it fun to bully someone when you're 3 years older?" Adrian raised his eyebrows, laughing mischievously. "We spent a few years like that. On the day of the college entrance exam, Mia leaned over my desk and said, 'Luca, how about I go to the same university as you in the future?' I hesitated, unsure of what to say. I wanted to decline because the school my crush attended was the same, but Adrian, pulling Mia to his side, said, Take a good look at the school I'm applying to. Maybe you can consider going there too." Mia frowned and replied, "No, why would I go to your school? To continue being teased? Who will help me when Luca isn't around? Luca can't help you forever. He'll also find a girlfriend and get married." That was the first time Adrian didn't tease Mia, but she still had tears in her eyes. I understood what Mia meant. We were just too young, each with our own goals, never clearly expressing our feelings, all bottling up our emotions. In the end, Mia still applied to the same university as me. She remained as warm and radiant as before, while I sank into deep melancholy because I had broken up with my crush. I was busy preparing for postgraduate exams and couldn't celebrate her birthday. A wealthy man who wanted to sponsor her education abroad kept pursuing her, and eventually she agreed out of anger with me. We had a serious argument that night, and Mia came to see me. Her big, bright eyes finally revealed her feelings for me and that she wanted to be with me. Initially, I was reluctant to agree, but spotting my crush lurking in the shadows infuriated me, prompting me to grasp Bella's hand. Bella had always been compliant, just like during our childhood, never causing me trouble, but consistently looking after my well-being with a comforting familiarity. Sometimes, I thought this arrangement was acceptable. It was at least dependable. However, everything shifted 6 months later. On Bella's birthday, I abandoned numerous plans to be with her, only to receive a call from my crush while we were watching a movie. The man funding her education had been caught by his wife, leaving her stranded overseas and seeking my assistance. This presented me with an opportunity to travel abroad as well. In a moment of foolishness, a week later, I ended things with Bella, uttering some harsh words. I convinced myself I had no feelings for her, but as I sat in the car heading to the airport, a heavy sensation settled in my chest. Concerned, I tried calling Bella, but her phone was turned off. I also reached out to Oliver and Ethan, but neither responded. I was certain Bella must despise me. She was strong and proud, and she had declared she wouldn't look back once we parted ways. And she was right. She vanished from my life entirely. Even Ethan and Oliver ceased answering my calls. It wasn't until I was abroad that I discovered my crush wasn't as unhappy as she had portrayed. She simply wanted me back. For the first time, I felt repulsed by her. Yet simultaneously, a strong longing for Bella emerged within me. I realized she had become an integral part of my life over the years. I wanted to reconnect with Bella, but I had committed to a 1-year contract and couldn't leave easily. A year later, I managed to return home, only to learn from Bella's roommate that she had fallen seriously ill and had to pause her studies. What kind of illness would necessitate taking a break from academics? I reached out to numerous classmates and eventually found someone still in contact with Ethan and Oliver, who mentioned they were organizing a reunion and that Ethan might bring Bella. Excited, my hands trembled as I stood outside the private room. However, Ethan and Oliver were there to protect her closely, leaving me no chance to speak with her privately. Finally, I scheduled a meeting with Bella, intending to explain everything and ask her to return. I vowed to myself that this time, I would love and cherish her genuinely without causing her any more pain. To my astonishment, Bella had lost her memory. Just like the nonsense I had said years prior, she had truly forgotten me. I was left in shock, finally comprehending why no one had answered my calls the day I went abroad. Bella was hospitalized. She suffered from amnesia and couldn't remember me, though she still recalled Oliver. She clung to him, and her flirtatious behavior toward him echoed our past. Enraged, I confronted Oliver. I accused him of it being unfair that Bella had lost her memories and argued that she should be allowed to regain them so we could compete for her affection honestly. But Oliver, seizing my collar, snarled, her pain, her tears, her life and death struggles. I was there for her. Now you show up wanting to take her away. What right do you have? His words struck me deeply. What right did I have? Still, I clung to a sliver of hope, waiting for Bella to remember me. However, I was mistaken. Bella's surgery was a success, and she regained her memory, yet all she could manage was a distant, "Long time no see," and kept asking about Oliver's whereabouts. In that instant, it felt like my heart was being torn apart. I often wondered if she experienced the same pain when we broke up. Bella insisted it wasn't my fault and that she didn't hold any resentment toward me. I hoped she would hold some resentment, thinking it might indicate she still loved me. But ultimately, nothing changed. Years later, Bella married Oliver. I believe if she had chosen me, I would have loved her just as deeply. Sometimes, I find Bella's heart unbearably cruel. She doesn't hate or blame me, she merely allows me to linger in her life. Isn't that the harshest punishment for me? I can't help but watch her, but every time I do, I see her gazing at Oliver with immense love, a look that was once reserved for me. Now, it exists only in my dreams.